Hello there. Today I wanted to talk about how an INFP can set boundaries in their relationships with others, because this seems to be a topic that keeps coming up among INFPs, and I'm sure probably with other personality types too. But just because I'm an INFP, that's what I happen to notice. So today I just had two suggestions when it comes to that, because honestly I'm still trying to figure out how to do this myself. So I just kind of thought about it, did a little bit of research, and came up with two suggestions. So the first one is to realize that being honest with your significant other or your friend or your family member does not mean that you're a bad person and you should feel guilty about being honest. It means that you're a good person because you want to have a healthy relationship with the people in your life and you want them to see you as you are. And this is a long number one. And in addition to that, it means to be honest, you have to kind of let your yes mean yes and your no mean no and stick to that. For example, let's say that you are vegetarian for health reasons. You've just found that it's better for your cholesterol or something, whatever. Not that I'm promoting anything, but you just personally feel it's better for your health if you're vegetarian. And you're at a family gathering and everyone is eating meat and they're offering you this beef. And this family member who you dearly love comes up to you with a plate of beef or some hamburger, and they're like, you have to try this, you have to try it. Okay, this is the time when you have to remember that being honest is not a bad thing. It's a good thing because it lets your loved ones see you as you are, which means it helps them to appreciate the boundaries that you've set. And you have to let your yes mean yes and your no mean no, and not flounder on that. You can eat the flounder because, well, no, you can't eat flounder if you're a vegetarian. Anyways, but the point is, so your response would have to, or it should probably be, no thank you, I am a vegetarian for health reasons. And you'll probably get some pushback because INFPs, we always get pushback every time we say something. Every time we try to stand up for ourselves, we get lots of pushback where it's oh no, you don't understand what you're talking about. Let me explain to you why this is good for you. Or, oh sweetie, I just want you to try this. It's so good, you're gonna love it. But you have to stand firm and be who you are and let your no mean no. And it's okay to do that in a gentle way, to say, I really appreciate you. And I'm sure it's really good. It looks good, but I just cannot eat it. So thank you so much. I love you, but no. And then go get some salad or something, and that can be really difficult because you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But the thing is, I've learned the hard way that more people get hurt when we lie. And it's not an intentional lie. It's just we don't want to hurt someone's feelings, so we might agree to do something that we really don't feel comfortable with. We might let our no actually turn into a yes. And in the long run, because we hold a little bit of a grudge for doing that, and also it hurts us when we don't follow through on who we really are, in the long run we end up kind of damaging our relationship with that person. So it hurts more to not be honest than to just set a firm boundary and say, no, this is not for me. I love you, but no. Also on that note, I remember there was this episode of Frasier, which I love that show. I know it's really old, but I just love it so much. Where Frasier's dad, he was so proud of his son and he wanted to do something really nice for him, so he bought him this horrible painting. It was terrible, it was ugly, and he insisted that Frasier, who is this neat freak and who took pride in having an elaborately designed living room and everything, he was like, you have to hang this right in the living room where everyone can see it. And Fraser was just like, and he agreed to it, and he pretended for a long time that he was so excited about the painting. But then one day he exploded, and he was like, it's hideous, I hate it. And his father got super hurt, and it was terrible. So the point is, even in real life that happens, where we might say, okay, and we'll agree to something that we don't want in the beginning, and then like a few weeks later, there was a huge explosion because we didn't set a proper boundary in the first place. So we have to let our yes mean yes and our no mean no. And don't feel guilty about it, or learn not to feel guilty about it. Okay, so the second suggestion that I kind of found after doing a little research and some self-analyzation was like, if you see someone, if you can see that one of your friends or significant other is trying to manipulate you, do not in your head say, it's okay, I see this, but I love them, so I'm gonna let them get away with it, and just play along. I have done that multiple times, and it always ended up bad. The worst time was with a supposed friend who, like, she didn't believe that I was actually sick, because I have like these stupid chronic illnesses. I've mentioned them lots of times before because I'm always complaining, but I have a bunch of chronic illnesses, and like if I don't eat the right food, I start to break out and other horrible things happen. And I had this friend, I could tell that she did not really believe me. I could tell that she, in her head, thought that I was making this up, which that happens frequently to people with chronic illness. And I didn't realize that till after the fact. Her reaction actually made me think, am I making this up? Sometimes, but I definitely wasn't, and my doctors proved that for sure. But anyhow, like, I could see that. Although I never said that to her, because I really, this was like my closest friend. I really cared about her. And one day she came up to me and she says, you know, I know you're on a special diet for health reasons because of your illness. And I just think that, can you tell me exactly what the diet is so that I can pass it on to someone else who has similar health issues? In my head, I knew that she was lying, and I knew that this was just her way of trying to see what I was eating, because she thought that I was anorexic and bulimic, which I was not. I was none of those things. I just had like celiac and diabetes and a bunch of other stuff that affects your health, and you do have to eat a certain way to stay alive, basically. And she didn't understand that. And so in my head, I knew that the real reason why she was asking me this. But I thought to myself, I clearly remember thinking to myself, I can see that she's lying, but I love her so much. I'm just gonna go with this and it'll be okay. So I was like, sure, of course, yeah, I'll give you all the information and where I found the diet online. And I did. I gave it all to her. And later I found out she was going around telling other people that, like, things that weren't true about me. She was telling them that I was anorexic and bulimic. She was like making up diagnoses for me that were not accurate, because she's not a doctor and she didn't understand. And she kind of like ruined my reputation. And all of this, it goes back to me not setting a boundary. It's really not her fault. I mean, she is who she is, and she should take responsibility for gossiping and jumping to conclusions about things that she knew little about. But ultimately, the fault in all of that happened rests on my shoulders, because I did not set a proper boundary. When things like that happen, when you as an INFP can see that someone who you truly care about is trying to manipulate you or lying to you, the best thing to do is right then and there set a boundary to let them know they can't do that. but you can do it in a nice way. Like, in retrospect, what I wish I'd done is point out what I was observing. I should have said, I suspect that you're really asking me this because you think I struggle with anorexia. How do you feel about my thoughts on that? What do you think about that? And then let her explain herself. And that would have opened a dialogue, because she wasn't like a horrible person, I don't think. So I'm assuming she would have talked about what she was actually feeling, instead of letting fear make her lie. Because a lot of times good people lie because they're afraid. So sometimes as INFPs, we can actually have empathy for that person who is manipulating us or attempting to, by just putting the truth on the table, by saying, I suspect that maybe what you really want to say to me is blah, blah, blah. Is that true, or is there something else, some other reason why you're saying this to me? And if we say that in a gentle way, and the person is not like super egotistical, or, if they're a decent person, they'll most likely just open up because they care about us. The thing is, it does take courage to do that. Because a lot of times we're afraid of losing people that we love, which is why we don't set boundaries. But if we really care about someone, we have to let that fear go, and we have to set boundaries, because that shows them who we truly are. And when you really love someone, you show them who you are. You're not afraid to do that. Like I said, it does take courage to do that. So those are things I'm actually still working on, the part about letting my yes mean yes and my no mean no. And when I notice that someone isn't being exactly forthcoming and they may be trying to manipulate me, I really need to work on addressing that right up front and setting a boundary to show them I am not the person who you will be manipulating or lying to. That's not happening. And doing that in a gentle way. I apologize, if I sound out of breath. I really don't feel well today, so I can hardly breathe right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the video, but thank you so much for watching. And if you have other suggestions about how to set boundaries, appropriate boundaries, as an INFP especially, please feel free to leave that in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.